Good day everybody, welcome back to the channel, and welcome to another What's This Then? Today we are having a look at Hades 2, long anticipated sequel to the original Hades, which was an absolute classic pretty much as soon as it hit the scene. Hades 2 has been sitting in early access for a little while, but just recently hit its 1.0 full release on the 25th there. I've been playing it a little bit, I've been having some fun, I've been enjoying myself. So, I put most of the hours I have in this game into the early access. However, the way that Supergiant does their games, or does their early access, it tends to be additive instead of changing what's already in the early access, although there is new additions and things have been updated in the parts that I would have played. And then also more stuff added on as well. So, what it is, I restarted a save file. Just start from the beginning, and I've gone from there. I've put about 4 or 5 hours into that. And so that's where the 1.0 first impressions are kind of coming from, just so you know. But before we jump into the actual gameplay and start talking about it, let's have a look at the options menu here. And actually, you know, before we do that, just so for anyone who doesn't know, if you've never played Hades, it is a story-driven hack-and-slash roguelike. It is pretty much the prime example of infusing a story into the roguelike genre. I don't really think there's a game that's come quite as close as doing it as the Hades series so far has done it. Sort of a little bit of a spoiler on what I think about the Hades 2 there. I'd say the closest is probably something like Returnal. Returnal was absolutely incredible. I think Hades just does it a little bit better, a bit more seamlessly. We'll talk more about that once we get into it. Let's get into the options. So this being a very stylized game, obviously there's not going to be a lot to talk about in graphics options, for example, but we'll talk about everything else. So, gameplay. Right off the rip, they give you a God mode. If you are someone who doesn't really want to deal with the difficulty that's kind of inherent with roguelites, especially starting at the beginning, then you can turn on God mode, and you will become a lot stronger, essentially. I believe it just buffs all your stats across the board, so you have more health, more damage, blah blah blah. So, if you just want to focus on the story, this is kind of how you do it. Aim assist, it will sort of automatically sort of aim at things for you whenever you're attacking. I would recommend having this on. I would also recommend playing this with a controller. In fact, if you look at the screen, where does it say it? It says it somewhere. I remember seeing it, but it says recommended to play with a controller. I can't remember where I saw that, but it says it somewhere. But I would back that, yep. You can absolutely play it with mouse and keyboard, but controller is just the way everything about this game is sort of designed, so probably recommend that. You can turn on auto fire if you wish, get more of that like sort of vampire survivors kind of feel to it. There's an auto sprint. Haven't really messed around with that too much myself, don't really feel like it's needed. Dash at cursor, just if you would rather go to the cursor instead of the way the character's facing. I keep it on default. Timer display a measure of each and every fleeting instant, so you can just sort of, I think this is mostly for speedrunners, to be honest. I think this is a nice little addition for them, just so they can properly track in-engine their runs and stuff. Then you got some like dead zone, reticle speed, reticle magnetism for locking onto foes, stuff like that. All good stuff. Controls, fully rebindable controls for controller, always lovely to see, love that. Interface, you can change the button labels to Xbox, keyboard and mouse, PlayStation, even if you're using one or the other, which is always lovely. Interface opacity, turn it on if you want damage numbers, pause on Alt-Tab, mouse lock, always like that. Disable screensaver, just if, you don't want it going into like sort of a screensaver mode. And transmit data, for telemetry for the game and all that sort of stuff. I'd say Supergiant are one of the few developers that I would be like, yeah, I'd trust you to keep that on, 100%. Display. You've got pretty much everything you would really need. Full screen, borderless, VSync, have that off. Graphics quality. For graphics options, you just have preset high quality low, or high medium low, sorry. You won't really be changing much yourself, although if there is a high, medium, and low, it would be nice to be able to tweak whatever this is tweaking. It would be nice to be able to have some sort of fine control over that myself, but this isn't one of those games where that really matters at all. The game runs like an absolute dream, looks like an absolute dream, and that's really all there is to when it comes to performance and visuals and stuff of this game. You don't need to be turning down texture quality in a animated game like this, for example. You got your brightness, resolution, default display, all that good stuff. Accessibility, you've got subtitles, song subtitles. The music is absolutely excellent, so you may want to turn those on and listen to that lyrics, because there are some fun stuff in there in a couple of songs. One in particular. Auto advanced dialogue, this isn't on by default. I quite like it on, though. Just for whenever we get into conversations and the like, I like it to just sort of progress naturally at its own pace, so I don't have to worry about, moving on, because every single time I forget to move it along, and then I'm just sitting there going like, oh, where's the next dialogue? And then, I realize like, oh yeah, I have to do it. Vibration intensity, bright cursor, screen shake, all that good stuff. Audio has pretty much everything you need to change. Main, music, ambient, SFX, speech, mono sound if you want. Language, there are a lot of languages that you can swap it to if you wish, and then you've got the credits. So that's pretty much the settings menu. Not a whole lot to talk about in there, but some nice little stuff you might want to tweak around with. Settings updated, you may need to quit out. I think that's because I hovered over some different languages, probably, because I haven't seen that before. Anyway, let's hop into the actual gameplay, because that's the real meat and potatoes of this what's this then, I think, for this one. So you'll see my save file on the left. This is from when I was playing the early access, and that was all pretty much in the initial release of the early access, so I didn't play any of the big updates after that. I played this for a good bit, like 12 hours or so, and then decided I'm going to wait for the full release, and that is not what I've done, and I started a new save over here, which, if you want to check how that's been going, I did stream that on this channel, so you can check out the live tab for the VODs, or check out the Twitch as well. Yeah, let's hop into that, so we can discuss what makes this one different from Hades 1, what makes this one so good, yada yada yada. So I'll go back to the start of our little hub area, because this is the crossroads. This is our version of the House of Hades that Zagreus would have started with in the first one. And as you might know, as you may or may not know, we play as Melinoe, who is the little sister of Zagreus, and basically the whole sort of House of Hades family has been taken or attacked or something. They're in danger by the Titan Kronos, the Titan of Time. And we have been sort of brought up by Hecate, who is the Witch of the Crossroads, and trained to kill Kronos, essentially. That is our goal, because Kronos is just attacking everyone, it seems. And that's sort of your premise for the story. So far, I think it's a pretty good premise. I think I like it a little bit more than the first one's story. It's a little bit more direct, but also at the same time, I do understand that the first one was more... It felt more like emotional, if that makes sense, because you're trying to get to the surface to like see your mother and stuff like that in the first one, and it was your family getting in the way, and there was a whole like thing going on there. Whereas in this one, it's, we have been attacked, I will now get revenge. It's a bit more straightforward, which in some ways is better, some ways it's not as interesting, but I quite like it. There's a little frog. We can talk to the frog after the runs. Always fun. As you might imagine with the first Hades, as in this one, there are plenty of people to talk to, and they always seem to react to things you've done on the run. There is just an absolute ton of reactivity in this game, depending on what you've done, or depending on who you've talked to, and stuff like that. This is Melinoe's little sort of area. You can come over here and brood by the family portrait, and sort of remind yourself that this is the goal. Remember who you're fighting for, all that sort of thing. And there's all sorts of different characters like sort of hanging around that you can talk to. Recently I just got Moros. That's his name, right? Moros, yeah. So there's all sorts of stuff to do here. All sorts of stuff. It's just like the House of Hades in the first one, where this will be an ever-evolving place with stuff adding to it the more you go through. You unlock stuff. The main way that you'll do that is through this thing here, and this is your like big cauldron where you do incantations. And this is how you would unlock, say... So this here, this is our big, like, quest log almost. Well, it's like the fates. It's like a scroll of the fates. And it's like, go do these and you'll get rewards, sort of thing. But to get this, you have to go over to the incantation cauldron, and then you have to, get a few things and activate it, and then come back on the next run, and there it is, blah, blah, blah. And that's sort of like how your gameplay loop is sort of incentivized, because you go out in a loop, you get the materials, you come back, you unlock something, you go out in a run, you come back, it's then there, and then you interact with it, and it tells you to do more things and more unlocks, and that's sort of, that's the sort of secret to any good roguelike, or any good roguelite, but this one does it in a very thematic way, because it's all based around, like, Cauldron, that's your witch master, Hecate, and stuff like that. It all fits in very nicely thematically. It's all a lot of fun. There's also these little markers we can go and examine, and Homer will pop in and give you a little bit of maybe some context or some text about it and stuff like that, which is always a bit of fun. Always like interacting with those.
He sure knows how to make an entrance.
Other than the cauldron, what else we got around here? There's like a little merchant fella, merchant spirit, and you can trade some of your resources for other resources.
Take care, then.
Always good stuff. More characters to talk to, and as with the first Hades, you can gift them nectar, which will get you like trinkets and stuff, or you can just chat away with them, see what they've got. They'll have an exclamation mark over them if they have anything specific to say. There's a little garden where you can like grow plants, and these plants are needed for certain incantations, as you might imagine, and it all loops into itself very, very nicely. And it's part of what makes Hades such a smooth ride. If there's one thing that I really like about the Hades games, is that they are so smooth to play. Just playing the game feels like you are progressing in significant ways all the time. And it's always interesting. There's always something to unlock. There's always something you're working towards in a significant fashion. It's not just, oh, I need to do 20 runs. I have done 1 run out of 20, blah, blah, blah. No, there's always something. Every time you come back that you'll get a new dialogue, you'll get a new piece of like story context, you'll get a new item to use, you'll get a new thing to unlock, a new thing to work towards, a totally new concept. There's always just something. It's so, so good. Supergiant have nailed it. They pretty much nailed it with the first Hades, but here it just feels like they've refined that even better, or even more. So this here is where we can meditate and spend ash to unlock sort of buffs to our runs. Now you can only have so many of these at any one time. You'll see the cost of them, the top right of the cards themselves, like 1, 2, 3, 2, 2, 4 for that one. And in the top right of the screen itself, you'll see that's our grasp. It's kind of like our ghosty, skeleton arm. Depends on how many of those we can have, and we can actually upgrade that skeleton arm with Psyche, and then we can equip more of those, and that's how, that's one of our progression vectors. That's how we get stronger through the runs. It's pretty cool. To unlock more cards, you have to unlock the one adjacent to it, and then this keeps expanding and expanding and expanding. I don't know where this will stop, but it's gotten bigger like 3 times now, I think, so it shows no signs of slowing down yet. And then we come to this room, which is our weapon choice. So essentially we come up here, and this is where you unlock all the different weapons. You'll need different materials to unlock them. So for the Argent Skull, I don't have that weapon yet. I did get it whenever I was playing the early access, but I haven't got it yet here. So I need 1 bronze, 1 G-Rock. So I'd have to figure out where to get bronze, because I haven't seen that yet. Now, I personally know where to get bronze, but I just haven't been there yet. And then you can swap out the different weapons and sort of play around with them. This is kind of like your training ground as well. You can swing about and attack things. And this is your sort of like trinkets, sort of selection. Charms, trinkets, I always forget the name, because every game calls it something different. And basically, every time you give nectar to someone, they will give you like a trinket in response. And then there's also reasons to give them like nectar afterwards. It's sort of like a relationship thing. You can get like more dialogue, you can build a relationship with them, etc., etc. But it's all really interesting. Again, it's just one of those things that, like, you'll have an abundance of nectar on you, or at least I do pretty much most of the time. Anytime I see nectar to get, I always get it. Because I always love getting like more of these or seeing what dialogue and stuff. So that's just another thing that adds to like each run. Just here's a new thing to go and check out. Like the last time I did a run there, I unlocked this one. When first you fall to 0 in an encounter, become doomed. Clear it in time for 30 health. So there's a way to keep yourself alive. Which is sounds like a pretty interesting one. Right now I'm rocking the Silken Sash, which I had a really good time with. Gives you 30 armor. And while you have at least 1 armor, gain 3 after each location. Really good way that if you're playing smart at the beginning of the game, playing smart and careful, then you can sort of keep that armor going and let yourself make some more mistakes later on that aren't as punishing. I like it. And then when you're down here, you've got, what's his name, Skelemius. He was in the first game, or at least, yeah, he was in the first game. I was thinking if it was supposed to be him or maybe an ancestor or something. But he has an exclamation mark, so I can like go and talk to him. And they'll talk about like things that are actively going on. Like I just unlocked this this upgrade for certain weapons that if I use this weapon for a run, I will get +3 bones per location. So every time I go to a new location, I will get +3 bones. So that's just another way to add to the resource gain of every run and stuff like that, which is really cool. Now, I don't think I'm going to use the axe because it requires a bit more attention. I'm going to use the daggers. So far, these are the weapons that I've had the most successful runs with. I really like them. But this does bring me to the one thing that I feel this game does not do as well as Hades 1. Now, this is going to be subjective. I have spoken to other people, and they have actively said the opposite, so take this how you will. I do not think the weapons in this game are as interesting as Hades 1. Hades 1 weapons, I struggle to think of any of them that I genuinely just really didn't like. Whereas in this game, the staff is okay. I don't mind the staff. The daggers, I remember not liking them in the early access, but I'm actually liking them a good bit more here. These things, I just dislike. I really find no fun with these. And the axe is pretty fun. It's probably my favorite weapon, just because it's very satisfying to use. I don't remember liking the Argent Skull, but again, we'll see if anything's changed. And then I think there's another weapon which I haven't seen yet. I don't know if that was maybe not in the early access or something like that, but I just remember every weapon in Hades 1 being fun to use. And there's some definite, like, stinkers in my mind when it comes to the weapons in this. So hopefully there'll be maybe some upgrade systems to make them like a little bit more interesting, or make them, maybe can swap them about, change them about a little bit. But that's pretty much my main criticism with Hades 2 so far, and it is a personal one because, like I said, I've heard other people sort of mentioning that they didn't really like the weapons in Hades 1 all that much, and they really like the ones here, for example. So that's sort of where we are with that. Now, let's hop into a run, and you may notice there's a way down here, but there's also a way over here. So one way this game changes itself from Hades 1 is there's actually two paths. You've got kind of like two potential objectives. Now, I did unlock this when I played the early access, and I know this is sort of like an ascending to Olympus kind of path, whereas this is sort of descending to the House of Hades to fight Kronos. I don't know how this all goes on, but in the early access, I did sort of go down here and sort of finish that path a couple of times. It's interesting. I don't know how it's going to play out whenever both of them are like fully involved with the story and stuff. I don't know if like you'll finish one and then the other one is like left to do. I'm not sure how that's going to do, but it's certainly just, it's more stuff, you know. Here's another choice. If you don't like going down there, go up there, you know, go down there for a run. Adds more variety, just more stuff. Just, yeah, I like it. Just, you know, plain and simple, I like it. Yeah, let's head down into an actual run itself. Starts very similarly to how Hades 1 started, in the sense that, you know, we jump out into our initial area, we get a boon right off the rip, and it is a random one, so we'll accept that. And this is this is Demeter, goddess of seasons, so I'm just going to rapid fire through some of the dialogue here. And this part of the game is the same as Hades 1, where we get a boon from a god, and we get 3 choices, and those boons can either be pretty good, or maybe not so good, depending on your build. It all comes down to personal preference, gameplay style, and your build at the time. So, let's see what we got here. Your cast inflict freeze. I like anything that I like anything that impacts my cast or impacts my normal hits. That's my usual go-to. So I'm going to take Arctic Ring. So I'll go over some of the moves we have now. So we have Square, which is our normal attacks, and they have a little combo like this. You have Triangle. These are your special attacks. For the daggers, this is a ranged attack. And if you press circle, you get a cast. And this is sort of like a circle on the ground. By default, this just slows enemies. But like that boon I just got impacted it to also freeze enemies. Now, every move has a charged version. And they're denoted by like a little omega symbol whenever you're picking up like boons and stuff. So the normal attack, if I hold that one, it is like a double slash that if there's an enemy there, I actually end up on the other side of them and attack them. Triangle, it turns it into like this big like fan of dagger attack, and circle, it turns it into like it just hard freezes them or hard sticks them. It's a binding circle where they just can't leave it once they're in it. Well, I don't think they can move. I think this one here, it just kind of slows them down, but if you hold it, it like actively stops them. And these all require magic, which in the bottom left you can see I have 20 out of 70 after I've just shown you those. Magic comes back after every room, so you are incentivized to use your magic pretty much all the time. You'll get abilities and boons that might regen your magic in the middle of a run, which is cool. Personally, for me, I usually find myself not utilizing magic quite enough as I should, which I need to use more because I always forget that it comes back after every room. I'm so used to games like, you know, magic being like a finite thing that, you know, you really have to only use in the most precious of circumstances, and I end up never using it type thing. But you'll see I'm back up at full 70 there, and get our little reward, and as you go out in runs, well, these won't be here like initially on like your first run, but you'll unlock the ability to harvest them, and then, you know, as you go through runs, you'll just grab some stuff like this, and you'll use those for upgrades, or use it to unlock new weapons, you know, so you're always working towards something. Same with Hades 1, you also get a couple of choices sometimes, depending on what sort of reward you would like from the next room. I'm always going to take a Palm of Power here, because that's going to upgrade our boons, although we only have one right now, so that's going to upgrade only that one. Let's speed up these enemies. So enemies mostly stun lock, for the most part, if they don't have armor, which is good to know, although I've just learned that that enemy's attack still is a hitbox, even though they're frozen. So let's get the Palm, takes our Arctic Ring from level 1 to level 2, increase the cast damage, which is just good stuff. We like more damage. So here's another one of those little interactable scenes. You know, Homer will come in, he'll tell us about this little bit, and, you know, Malinois will sort of react to it, you know, always fun, always little bits and pieces going on. We'll head on through here, and this is a health upgrade if I remember right. So these enemies have armor, so they're going to keep attacking unless we remove that armor. They're kind of weak, so it's very easy to do. Certain enemies, when spawned with armor, become a lot more annoying. There we go, there's another health upgrade. Here's another like little thing that you can unlock. It's to compel spirits to go back to the crossroads. It's basically just a game of Simon Says. Just hold the button whenever shown. Little quick thing, and then you also get some psyche after doing it as well. And here we see a nectar reward, so I'm going to go in there and grab this. You'll also see at the bottom when it says proceed, it also says alter. You can unlock some rerolls. That's one of my upgrade cards that I got. Oh, and we've just got an Artemis thing. So every now and again, a god or another character might just sort of involve themselves in your run randomly, and suddenly it might change up the kind of the goal or what you're focusing on for that room. So for this one, it's just Artemis helps you out, shoot some people. There can be ones where it turns into like a bit of a race to kill and stuff like that. So those are always fun whenever they pop up, because there's no like rhyme or reason to them. It's just they can pop up basically. Yeah, so Artemis is just coming in, letting us know, like reacting to things that have happened in the story. And it all feels so fluid, so dynamic. None of this feels forced. You know, a lot of the times when I'm playing games, I can see the pattern of the game design. It's something I've noticed as I've played more and more games, is that whenever something happens in a game, I start seeing why it happened, like game design-wise, and where that's probably going to lead to. With this game, when it comes to the story stuff and how it's interwoven directly into the roguelite stuff, it feels really natural. And that's something I really like about games. When a game makes it feel natural, doesn't make it feel like when it hides the game design and it feels real. You know, that's when a game really nails it to me. It's what I've always really liked about like Souls games and stuff like that. I recently did a video on Silent Hill F, and just like the immersion of like the village that you're exploring and stuff like that sort of thing. I absolutely love that. And that is where like Hades is an absolute like masterpiece. That is absolutely incredible. It deserves all the credit it gets for that sort of thing. So we just got this one, Lethal Snare, 16% chance to do crit, and we're using a fast attack weapon. Like that is, foes in your cast may take critical damage from your attack. So throw down a cast, throw down a circle. Any foes in there, they're frozen, and then we just beat them up. 16% chance to get a critical hit chance, which is a blow that deals 200% damage or greater. Or we could take a 4% chance at all times. So I'm going to take the 16% because that seems good. And then Artemis, my beloved, will leave you here. She'll dip away. And then that was just a thing, you know, like there's no way of controlling that. It could just happen on any run. It's just a fun little thing that can happen. And then we move on. So this door over here takes us to the shop, Charon, and then this one will take us to Apollo, but the skull above it means that you'll be fighting a mini boss before you get the reward. So you can take a harder room, but you might get a better reward. So we'll go for this one. And who we got here? Oh yes, it's you. So we can freeze you because we have a really strong cast currently. You won't stay frozen forever, and they have a frozen. They have a status effect resistance, so you can't just endlessly freeze enemies, of course, because otherwise boss fights would be incredibly trivial. Once we break the armor, this fight becomes quite easy because then we can stun lock it. I believe the only real enemies that you can't stun lock once they are armor broken is like bosses and stuff like that, so always a good thing to keep that in mind. I'll take a little gift from Apollo here. What do we get? Your specials deal more damage in a larger area, so that would be our little dagger throw. That wouldn't be too bad. Max cast size, 50%. That's pretty good. So now our cast is like even larger and gets even bigger. Like this could be a cast run, you know, like this could be what we're doing with this one. Ooh, Daedalus Hammer. I love this one. Anytime I see a Daedalus Hammer, I go for it because this is actually going to upgrade our weapon itself. It can upgrade like how it actively works, which is always an interesting one. Usually quite a large jump in power whenever you take these Daedalus Hammers. One of my personal favorites. Yeah, the moment-to-moment gameplay of Hades is just good. It's just smooth. There's always something to be thinking about, always something to be doing, always something sort of like keeping you invested, whether it be a story beat, whether it be an upgrade you're looking forward to, whether it be a resource that you've just found that you needed for that one upgrade later. Like there's a Nightshade Seed, that's another thing I can go plant and then get an upgrade later. Alright, let's see what we get here. Your attacks have plus 20 power, that's just immediately fantastic. Your attacks deal 150% damage striking foes from behind. That's potential, because I can freeze enemies and deliberately make sure I am behind them. Your attacks are 35% faster. All three of these are great choices. I personally am going to take the attacks have plus 20 power. But you also see there's a faded choice over there. That's the prophecy sort of fulfill different objectives thing. So if I take one of those two, I would actually fulfill one of those. I don't know if it means I would complete it or if it's just part of it. Personally, for this run, I want to go for the plus 20 power because a flat increase for the daggers, I think, is a much better increase than a percentage one. Ooh, we got a conversation up here. Now, I'll not go to that one just because, you know, for the purposes of this video, I'm not really listening to the conversations all too much, so I'll skip that and hopefully meet that on the next one. Oh, okay, so we actually got like a little sort of safety room. You can upgrade some of the zones where every now and again you might just run into a room like this, which is just safe. You get a little heal in it. It's kind of a little reprieve. Helps you along your runs, essentially, because you don't have these rooms initially, and getting health back can be a challenging endeavor, certainly. So any attack or special deal damage, restore magic. So that's good if you have something that's really good with magic, especially with the daggers, because that restores that very fast. So your charge special also launches a fireball, but uses 10 magic. You deal more damage to foes that are nowhere near other foes. So that's pretty good, because that's good against bosses. Once you clear the ads, they're just alone.
Just a small thing.
Don't need that health, but we'll take it anyway. We'll go for the ash, because I have plenty of bone currently. Yeah, this is sort of like the general gameplay look. Doesn't really change too far from this, except for like enemy variety. And the enemy variety is very good. Every zone has its own unique assortment of enemies, and they're all fun and challenging in their own ways. Some enemies, you know, like depending on what weapon you have, might prove harder. There's like a screaming enemy that chases you down. Like that with the slower axe can be a little bit of a pain because they can sometimes get their charge off before you get your attack off, etc. Other than that, yeah, the gameplay is just... Oh, speak of the devils, there they are. So against the charge enemies, or against the axe, these enemies can be a real pain. Then we'll grab over here, grab that little flower, so that's another upgrade or incantation, or, you know, just something we need for later. And it's interesting, I don't really think it needs to be said, but the art style of Hades is just incredible. It's really high quality from start to finish. It's a real... What's the word I'm looking for? It's a real labor of love. You know, you can just feel the devs' absolute desire to just knock it out of the park with every scene, every animation, just everything. It's absolutely gorgeous. Oh, this is an incredible one to have. Your attacks deal more damage to nearby foes. Like, just the closer I am, the more damage. 120%. I mean, I'm using the daggers, the close range weapons, so that's just pretty much nearly all the time. Oh, we got a little Charon shop. You can get upgrades to find these on runs because they're not normally here, and you can spend like a little bit of money for some minor buffs or maybe temporary buffs. stuff like that. So move 20% faster for 8 encounters, 10 gold. Like, that's not a lot, but that could be useful. Take minus 10% damage, or gain plus 25 potential, or gain plus 25 health, but don't actually get the health right away. So I'll get that. Yeah, that sounds actually pretty good. And then we'll go over here because this is Hermes, and he will give us another boon. And he, obviously, he's the god of, like, you know, speed and all that. So that with the daggers could be very good if he gives us like an attack speed buff or something. And the screen can get quite busy with projectiles sometimes, especially in the later fights. That would be my only sort of, I guess, like, thing I could say is, like, readability of some of the fights can get very crazy. But at the same time, you can kind of back off and, you know, really take your time. But I'm the sort of person that I just want to get in there and just start swinging, you know, crazy chaos and lots of damage and flying about the place. That's just the way I like to play it. So, you know, if I wanted to, I could back off and, you know, really take my time and, you know, dodge attacks, go in for an attack, get out of there, you know, that sort of thing. Let's see, what have we got here? Gain dodge chance and move speed based on the boons. Most foes' range shots are slower. 40% slower is quite good. I think that's the one I'm going to take here. You also notice, I should have mentioned it while it was still on the screen there, but, well, I can actually show you here. So certain boons, if you look at the icon for it on the pop-up that describes what it does, so this one, Flutter Strike, and then you'll see the little picture to the left of the text. Then there's a little blue tier icon in the top right of the little picture. That is an element. Each god, or I think it's all related to the god, maybe not necessarily the specific boon they give you, but it'll have an element that it's associated with, and you can get certain other boons or certain other upgrades that are associated with those. So if you have this many earth upgrades, then this boon will be upgraded massively, or, you know, etc, etc. And this is something that I don't believe Hades 1 had at all. So again, it's just another way to make the runs more interesting. It's really nice little idea, and it only comes up occasionally. It's not like every run. Like, I probably won't see one this run that'll do something like that. But when you do get one like that, it can be a serious upgrade to your run. It could be the difference between, like, oh, this run is really struggling, to, oh, this run is now, you know, incredible. Let's upgrade that, because that's just really strong. I actually have a really strong run going currently here. So we'll do this boss fight here. And this is going to be against Hecate. I don't know if the bosses will change, but so far the bosses have been the same at the end of each region. But I know in Hades 1, the bosses could change sometimes as the game went on. I imagine it probably will be the same case for this. But this one is Hecate kind of going like, alright, you're out of the starting area, but I'm going to make sure you're actually strong enough before you're allowed to go any further, essentially. But I know this boss fight pretty well, and oh my god, yes, I have a very strong run going currently. That was an absolute melter of a health bar. So you're seeing one of the appeals of roguelites currently, where sometimes you will just get a run that is absolutely busted. And it feels very good when this happens. Like, literally 1 or 2 combos, and I am, like, taking her down to the next phase. I have to dodge this, because that's going to turn me into a sheep if it hits me. Dodge around here, we have to kill all them to lower her shield. And I still haven't taken any health damage yet because I took that one trinket, which is very strong. You're going to do that, and then I'm going to get in there and kill you. Lovely stuff. And then we get sort of like one of the more specific rewards for, like, beating bosses. These are for, like, larger upgrades and stuff, but obviously you don't have quite as many of them because there's only, you know, a certain amount of bosses every run. Whereas there could be more of other things. But yeah, that's kind of all I really wanted to say on this one. The game is incredible. Gameplay is just smooth. It's incredibly fun. It's satisfying. It looks gorgeous. The characters are all just really fun to listen to. The writing is just good all round. There's some great personal moments. It knows when to take it seriously. It knows when to have fun. The characters are, like, the way everything's drawn, the way all their designs look are just fantastic. The music is incredible. The music is so good. There's one boss fight in particular I would, if this looks vaguely interesting to you, I would implore you to get it yourself and experience the boss fight of the second area for that music. It is so much fun. It feels like there's just an absolute ton of heart and soul has gone into this game. anything Supergiant does tends to come out at this quality. They are just a fantastic developer at this point. I say at this point as if they weren't already. I mean, Bastion and Transistor kind of nailed that already, but Hades kind of cemented it, and now Hades 2 shows that, you know, there's no flukes here. This is a studio that knows what they're doing. They have a lot of fun doing it. It's just very evident by the quality of their games and how much fun they are. But yeah, I think that's all I really want to say on this one. You can pick this up on pretty much everything. On Steam, it is £24.99 or $29.99, or whatever your regional equivalent is, and I would highly recommend. And if, you know, maybe if £25 is maybe a bit too much, maybe go pick up the first Hades and see if you just like the general idea, because this is very similar to the second Hades. Or sorry, Hades 1 is very similar to the second Hades. This one's very similar to the first Hades, just different character, different setting. Gameplay is mostly very similar. Upgrade system very similar. The way you progress narratively, how that all is interwoven into the gameplay and story, all very similar, just with its own fresh coat of paint for this narrative and gameplay and character and stuff. But yeah, excellent game. Would recommend. And I shall catch you guys on the next video, I should say. Goodbye.